number 6, outside of anyone already discussed. Who do you consider?
Lay down that law.
I'm laying it down. I'm all over this. Who do you consider the biggest fantasy winner of free agency, Mitch?
Biggest fantasy free agent.
Outside
All
of who
right.
we discussed, yeah.
Okay, outside of who we discussed, I'm gonna go with probably the guy who I said I'm gonna maybe like a month ago I put out a tweet like, hey, everybody needs to go buy low on a guy like Marquise Goodwin because I think Marquise Goodwin is one of those guys who was kind of undersold of how good of a year he had last year, and everyone was like, oh, they're gonna take a receiver, they're gonna take a receiver. They may go get Dez now. I've heard that rumor come out a little bit. But Marquise Goodwin last year was really, really good, actually. And it kind of gets me mad that he wasn't getting the hype. And he is an unbelievable athlete. If anybody has time, go back, watch his NFL Combine. He has the 4th fastest 40 time, a legit track speed runner, like 4.27 out of Texas. And he's always been that guy who hasn't gotten the love. So he was on the Buffalo Bills. A lot of Bills talk on this show. It's going to be a hell of a show. And he sat behind Watkins. Never really got that light. And then he comes and plays for San Francisco, and they finally give him a role where he can shine. And his last 5 games with Jimmy Garoppolo, he averaged on a 16-game basis 131 targets, 80 receptions, 1,200 yards, and sure only 2 touchdowns. But I'm going to sit here and I'll pound on the targets, I'll pound on the receptions, and hope that touchdown number comes up. The only 5 receivers last year in the NFL to have over 80 catches and over 1,200 yards: Adam Thielen, Antonio Brown, Julio Jones, Keenan Allen, and the other name is escaping me. So sorry I can't give you the 5th name. Look it up. But there's a reason why Goodwin, I think, is still being undersold. I mean, I don't even know if he's in the top 36 receivers. I don't know if he's in the top 40. And for a guy who showed that much chemistry with Jimmy Garoppolo right away, and then they don't go out and sign anybody and re-sign him, he's the guy that we need to look at a little bit more because I think he is a really good talent, and that I love what the 49ers are doing. Like, if there's an organization where you need to build your a template around an organization, it's what the 49ers are doing right now.
Wolf, biggest winner in free agency.
Just to give you some data, though, Marquise Goodwin, I have him at 62 overall, and I have him 42 spots higher than the ECR right now. So, and that was like not. I like Marquise Goodwin. I don't even think I loved him, but apparently I'm 42 spots higher than the experts. So he is a screaming bargain right now. The Shanahan target hog X Alpha. I didn't think Goodwin could be that guy, and you just cited some serious stats that say maybe he could be. So if he is that guy going into the year, if that's his role, then that's going to be one of the best discounts in all of fantasy. My biggest winner, besides Ajayi and Mahomes, who we talked about, my biggest winner is Jay Ajayi. I think getting LeGarrette Blount out of there, I know that you give me that shudder. I've talked about Ajayi a bit here. But you get LeGarrette Blount removed, and you give Ajayi now the monopoly of those early down touches, first, second, and goal line looks, in an offense that scored the most points in the league, 29 points per game, an offense that runs the most traps, where Ajayi really thrived. He ran, I think, recorded about 400 yards on traps the Eagles did with that athletic bruising line. Those are the type of run schemes that Ajayi's best at. When he has blockers in front in creative ways, has some open field to find, his open field vision is fantastic. That's why he has some of the most explosive runs in the NFL since becoming a starter. Has back-to-back 200-yard games. Not because he has great speed, but because he can just rip chunk play after chunk play. I really think we're going to see the Ajayi that we expected last year. This year, I'm not going to take him in the first round. You don't have to take him in the first round. You can get him in round 4. I think that's a screaming bargain on a guy with enormous upside as a not featured back. He's going to lose passing down work, but still, 15 or 20 touches and the most explosive offense behind the best offensive line in the game, I think is hugely valuable and hugely undersold right now.
Yeah, and Jay Ajayi has a quality that a lot of fantasy running backs don't have, which is that it's rare that you can be completely wrong on a guy 2 different times in the same season, which you managed to be on him last year. And I also got sucked into that trap. Getting it wrong 3 times in like 12 months is going to be an impressive thing.
He wasn't horrible on the Eagles.
No, you had him you moved him up to like 4 or 5 amongst running backs or something. I mean,
it was what I wanted to happen because I owned him in 3 out of 5 leagues.
I'm just saying, you can't get fooled. How many times? It's like
he was on pace.
It's like the rat experiment where they attach electricity to one of the pieces of cheese. How many times are you going to take a bite out of that one?
The only thing I want to hear your rankings though.
What's that?
No, I want to hear your rankings after the draft because I'm a firm believer they're going to take a running back in one of the top 3 rounds. Like
If
I
they do
would,
that,
I would
obviously,
bet money on it.
of course, everything would be readjusted. But he was on pace for the 15th most total yards in the league once he got to the Eagles. So it was not a complete bust. And that was with Blunt there, stealing plenty of looks, stealing the late, the goal line type of looks. So with him removed, I think that pace only is sustained. And yeah, again, 15th in the league for total yardage pace. Once with the Eagles, I don't think that's a bust, Nat. I think he was doing pretty well there.
And also, I would just like to say, I didn't say it was a bust. I said that you like threw him like up at the top of the list. You were so all in. You were so all in. That, I mean, and he was not like all in. And listen, I could be the greatest facilitator on the internet, but if you're going to sit here and massage Jay Ajayi's shoulders for like 3 or 4 minutes rambling, like I can't move on.